evening, race fans, and welcome to the iRacing Countdown to Green for the season opener of the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, refreshed by Coca-Cola, live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. A warm welcome to those of you watching on iRacing's platforms at eNASCAR.com. I'm James Pine, joined by three gentlemen who know this series very well as former drivers: Michael Guerrilla, Brandon Cattell, and Chris Overland. And guys, we are back for the 12th season of eNASCAR competition. How excited are you to get the season going?
James, Chris, Mikey, it's Daytona, baby. We're ready. It's game day. It's race day. I'm spiking the ball. We're ready. Everybody's ready.
I'm super excited as well. I hope tonight goes a Buccaneers type of way and not a Chiefs type of way for most drivers. A little jab there. I'm super excited. We've been waiting.
Is angry at you there, Chris.
I'm super excited. I'm ready. Daytona, already the start of the season. It seems like just yesterday we were finishing up the season. Nick Ottinger was raising the trophy. Now we're back again.
Yeah, and what a better way to come to the Super Bowl of our season, coming to Daytona International Speedway and kicking it off with new faces, new teams, new everything to the series that we'll get into here in just a short little bit.
So much to talk about this Coke Series, but before we even get to the Coke Series, let's talk about some things that happened before we get to the Coke Series, because we have an all-new system to get to the Coke Series, a complete rebrand. What was known as the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro now becomes the eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying Series. And what was known as the Pro Series now becomes the eNASCAR Road to Pro Contender Series. So, Mikey G, a bit of a rebrand, and I think a bit of a retrain for all of us, because we're going to have to get used to these names. They're new, but it's a new Road to Pro ladder umbrella that carries us to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series in 2021.
Yeah, indeed. While the names may be changing, the route to the Coke Series is still the same. Obviously, you have your qualifier series leading up to the Contender Series, where you've battled it out with the former Coke Series drivers to get for those final 20 spots in the Coke Series. But honestly, it's a long road. You're still going to have that same grind for the Road to Pro up to the Contender Series. And from then on, it doesn't get any easier toward when you get to Coke Series. So really proving yourself in the qualifying Contender Series really sets you up for those teams who are looking for drivers in the Coke Series.
Also, a big thank you to Ben Reagan at iRacing for the lovely series, graphics, and logos that we have in 2021. Also of note, Chris Overland, the qualifying series gets a bit of a format twist for 2021. Now, at the midway point, the top 70 points are going to make a cutoff, and it's just going to be two splits to figure out which 20 drivers advance to the Contender Series in the fall.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about the round of 16 in real life NASCAR. Talk about the round of 70. 70 drivers fighting for 20 playoff spots. We'll call them playoff spots to get them into the Contender Series. But I think it's super exciting. I'm a big fan of these new formats. As a former champion of the Contender Series, not to toot my own horn, but we're going to be having a lot of fun this year. And the grind, like Michael said, it doesn't get any easier. These guys are going to be fighting tooth and nail. Maybe some guys who were in the series last year who want to get back in desperately.
No, you had to say it, didn't you? You just had to say it.
Of course. I got to toot my own horn, man. That's what I'm here for. Michael, what do you think?
I mean, it really comes down to it. I mean, the way it's split up between the two separate rounds for the Contender Series really has to set the field apart. I mean, once you get from the entire service down to 70, that's a huge crunch, and that's going to really play into how it works out for going into the qualifying series.
It's going to be incredible. I mean, it's hard to win in any of these series, let alone the Coke Series. You know, it's going to be just different, obviously with the 70 drivers involved for once. I don't know how it's going to work out. I mean, I hopefully that I make it back in, but it's going to be different. It's just one of those things.
Of course, the qualifying series is different, but the Contender Series still stays the same. It's those who finish 21st or lower in points from the Coke Series with those top 20 from the qualifying series to try and race their way into the Coke Series. So we get to the Coke Series now. We get to this season, and we get to rule changes, a few twists and tweaks that are going to be part of this. Michael Guerrilla, maybe the biggest of them all. If you win a race in the regular season and you finish that regular season in the top 20 in points, you automatically qualify for the playoffs. Win, and you are in.
Yeah, winning you're in. It's just like the real life Cup Series. I mean, there were times back last year where I threw a few Hail Marys during the start of the season, thinking I was going to get a win and maybe propel myself further up in the points. But now that you have that back in your pocket, now that you can get into the playoffs just with this one win, I mean, it's a whole different game at that point. You don't have to worry about the rest of the season so long as you maintain a top 20 position in points. You can go ahead and start focusing on the playoffs even after week 1 here at Daytona.
I was about to say, that's got to be a huge point, Brandon, that if you win tonight at Daytona, you can, so long as you maintain even an okay pace throughout the regular season, you can be in the playoffs regardless of what else happens in the other 10 plus races that make up the regular season.
Yeah. Hey, the stress is gone after Daytona. If you win Daytona, man, put everything in the back. Just chill on the beach, just relax, you know, because it's over from that on point. I know personally, I would have liked to see these rule changes last year, especially with the Talladega win. It would have been a walk-off win. But,
he's going there.
We can't get everything we don't. We can't get everything we want, you know, in life. But you know, it's gonna be crazy, man. If you win one race, you're going right to the playoffs.
And you know, the one thing that I'm really excited about, and I know the fellow competitors being in the series last year, I know how they feel about it. There's no longer any bonus points for leading a lap. You can lead 99 laps out of 100 tonight, and it doesn't matter. You're not going to get any extra points. If you finish second, you get second place points. The winner, he gets to go on and move on and think about the playoffs, and you're left wondering why you didn't block him.
Also of note, speaking of playoffs, Michael Guerrilla expanded this year. We go from 8 drivers in the playoffs a season ago to 10 2021. And I know once we get towards August and September, that's going to make things even more interesting as we hit the stretch run of the season.
Yeah, it's 2 extra drivers to the playoff mix, and the bigger the amount of cars there are in the playoffs, the bigger the competition is going to be. I mean, just looking at it based on last year, if these rules were in place when it comes to last year, you would have also had the likes of Logan Clampett and Brad Davies being in the series. And when it came to Clampett's performance during the playoffs last year, he had top 5s in all the chase races going into Homestead. So there might have been a chance we might have been talking to Logan Clampett, your 2020 champion from last year, should the playoffs have been this way last year.
You think about Clampett, who just missed the cut a year ago. Graham Bolin was right there on the edge when we finished up our race at Talladega that Mr. Brandon Cattell won it. And also, I want to double back very quickly, just the lack of bonus points, because it goes away not only for leading a lap, but for leading the most laps and winning a race too. So it almost decreases the value of consistency to some degree, Brandon.
Yeah, that's a big deal. You know, one of the things I'm looking at is crew chiefs aren't going to keep their guys out on old tires anymore. You know, that one lap led bonus point, it's done with. I mean, unless you're trying to shorten the run, you know, and just try to get it done there. But it's over. If I was talking to my crew chief last year, Dustin Hall, I'd be like, get me on the pit road. I want 4 fresh Goodyear tires immediately. But you know, it's crazy, man. It's just crazy how all of these points just change the entire way every driver will attack this season from this point forward.
Small tweaks that I think are going to have a magnificent effect on the way this 12th season of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series plays out. Now, got a whole bunch of changes to keep talking about here on the pre-race show. This countdown to green, another set of changes we need to look at. The new schedule, a few tweaks from what we had in 2020. 18 races that make up the calendar. And I will turn first and foremost to Michael Guerrilla on this one. If there's one race that jumps out to you as significant, what is it and why?
The one race I look at is maybe one that most people looking at the schedule right now aren't really considering, and that's going to be Darlington. That one of my favorite tracks. It's definitely one of the trickiest tracks on the circuit, as it's called the track too tough to tame. But I mean, it's the first race in the playoffs. Obviously, everything up until the end of the regular season means a lot, and you have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge on what the car is going to be like. But once you get to Darlington, this is going to be the place where you're going to stamp your face and your skill on the way that the championship is going to play out if you are in the playoffs, or if you're trying to even get into the top 20. Not to mention, we're going to the low downforce, high horsepower package that we did not run last year. It will be utilized here. So that'd be interesting to see how drivers are able to race each other and how they're able to hold on to their cars and in the Lady in Black.
It's a track that gets the best out of drivers. You can't cheat your way into success at Darlington, and that's a good way to start off the playoffs. Chris Overland, where's your answer on this one?
You know, I'm going to a track that's similar to Darlington, not in style, not in shape, but in the way that you race it. I'm going with Bristol. Bristol is intimidating. Bristol is also in the playoffs, and those drivers who didn't have good runs at Darlington are going to be aggressive. They're going to be dirty. We are racing on asphalt, though. So I think that Bristol is going to be one of the turning points of the season for many of the drivers, especially those in the top 10 in points in the playoffs come that race. So, I mean, Bristol, you got to get the bump and run out. You got to get the chrome horn out. I think it's going to be one of the most exciting races of the year.
To be fair, technically it's concrete unless you consider the apron, but I like the answer as a concrete answer, Chris.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'll give you that. Now, Brandon can tell I have a hunch as to what your answer is going to be, but I'll let you speak for yourself here and tell us what you think.
Yeah, well, Chris is going to give me a lot of crap for this, but obviously Talladega, one of the biggest key factors for Talladega this season alone is you don't have to be a playoff driver to win this race. I mean, anybody out there can win this. It's a crapshoot. You look at the 10 drivers that are in, what are they going to do in this race to make sure they can make it into the final race, to make it for a chance to go for the money, and you wonder what's going to happen with the big one. Is it going to happen? Will the race be clean the entire way? All of these things that you just have to see and watch and play out as it comes into fruition.
I just want to point out, Cattell, you did say something that was very, very interesting to me. You said that anybody can win that Talladega race. More of a random draw than it is sort of skill. I just want to point that out for last year's performance. You did a great job, buddy. And as far as the big one, we're going to probably see it tonight. So I'm really excited. I mean, all the scheduling that we have to talk about, we talked about 3 playoff races. And right now, the only thing that matters is Daytona.
3 notes here to pass along. We've got 3 road courses in Dakota and Road America to join Watkins Glen on the calendar, and no mile and a half after Charlotte at the end of May until the playoff championship in Texas in October. Worth noting there too. A lot of new drivers that we need to talk about though for this 2021 Coke Series. A whole host of names that transition to different places, even though they return to the series. Chris Overland, if there's one move between teams that sticks out, who's got maybe the most impressive, the big headline move going into 2021?
Well, you can talk about Ray Alfala going to Joe Gibbs Racing. You can talk about Casey Kerwin going to XET, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about how I got replaced by John Gorlinski at Wood Brothers Racing. John is a great driver. He's been around since I was a little kid. I'm sure he wouldn't like the fact that I'm saying that, but John is a great pick. He's a great fit with Garrett Lowe over at Wood Brothers Racing. I know that they're going to be competitive this year. I know John's got the experience. He's also got the setup building skill, and he's also got the racecraft. I think John Gorlinski going to Wood Brothers is the pick.
Gorlinski, of course, teammate to series champion Nick Ottinger a year ago, so it could be beneficial to Garrett Lowe in that sense. Brandon Cattell, what move has caught your eye?
Oh, well, I gotta say Malik Ray. I mean, their social media game right now, they are absolutely killing it. I don't know if there's a little bad blood between Malik Ray and Joe Gibbs Racing. I saw the jersey getting dropped at the front door, but that was one of the coolest social media drops in the history of the series. Just to see all the involvement that Space Station Gaming has put forth to their drivers. But yeah, definitely Malik Ray.
They certainly launched into this new year, and we launched into a new season at one of, if not Malik Ray's statistical best track. He's known as a plate racer, certainly a threat, I think, tonight. Michael Garillia, we also have 11 new rookies and a few returning drivers coming to this series as well. Out of this bunch of drivers, what move sticks out to you?
The one that I'm looking at, honestly, when it comes down to it, is Isaac Gann. I mean, we saw Isaac Gann perform very, very well in the Pro Contender Series, where he went out and won the championship. And he made his mark there, and now he finds himself at Clickerman Esport, pairing himself with Bob Bryan and gang there over at Clickerman Sports. So I'm interested to see how he's going to do. He's fared very well in the qualifying series. Obviously, winning the championship at the Contender Series is something that he was able to accomplish. And honestly, a few times that I raced against him, he blew my doors off in the Contender Series. So I'm really interested to see the speed he's going to carry into the Coke Series this year.
Brandon Cattell, anybody on this side of things? There's so many we could talk about. Who are you picking here?
Well, I have to choose Blade Witt. He's driving my car, man. He's taking over the number 14 for Clint Boyer. Hopefully he can get more wins than I did last season in that car and make Clint proud.
Chris Overland, anybody else you want to talk about here?
You know, I'm kind of torn here because there's two guys that I know who can get it done. Two guys that have gotten it done before, Alan Bowes and Taylor Hurst. They both are returning to the series. They're not necessarily rookies. They have been in this position before. Alan, great driver, will show up on the flat tracks, the short tracks, tracks like Pocono even. Taylor Hurst has got probably the best racecraft of anybody I've raced around in the past couple of years, albeit he's very aggressive, but that is what it's going to take. And I think Taylor Hurst, if he could just get a little bit of luck on his side, which he hasn't had in the last couple of years, I think Taylor Hurst could be a contender for the playoffs.
Also of note, I think Mitchell DeYoung going to 2311. Last year, he was Keegan Leahy's crew chief there. Now he's his teammate in that number 23 Toyota Camry. Watch for that pairing to be strong.
Yeah, that man is ready tonight. He was in TeamSpeak first one. He is ready.
It's about 2 or 3 hours ago. So yeah, DeYoung definitely ready to go. Now, we had the chance to catch up with our series champion before tonight's race, so we'll step aside and listen a little bit more to our man from William Byron Esports, the defending eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion, Nick Ottinger.
The offseason was, great after our championship finale in, November at Homestead. And, I just had a lot of support system behind me going into that race. And especially, after it, I mean, we had a lot of, people contact William, with William Byron Esports and just his NASCAR, connections. Kind of congratulate him at the track and stuff was pretty, sweet to hear when we had our, championship dinner with him. And I mean, overall, it was a, great experience, through the off season to make pretty much new friends as well, and meet new people not just meet new people outside of iRacing that actually knew, the type of connection that racing actually brings. And it's just something special, kind of unimaginable to actually, partake in, and it's never really would have imagined to, the landscape, the championship would have brought to, personally to myself, but also to, William Byron Esports and just iRacing in general. I mean, it's grown so much, and it's just going to keep getting better and better. Going into this year, I'm looking forward to defend my championship. I mean, what better story that's to get another one, 2 in a row for William Byron Esports, and then personally for myself. I mean, you got another $100,000 on the line that people look for, and I want to go out there and prove and be more motivated to, back what happened in 2020. I mean, I got a lot of stuff to improve on still, and I'm still continuing to work on, and I want to meet those personal goals I set for myself each week, and also just show people out there that I'm meeting those goals, and just try to back our 2020 championship up and defend it the best we can. I mean, it's kind of hard to put into words. I mean, personally, and my trials and tribulations is what led me to be in iRacing and want to keep competing, and gave me an outlet pretty much to race. I mean, when I had my first open heart surgery, and I'm looking back now, man, that was 14 years ago. So I was 13 at the time, and that was my obviously my first big surgery of any kind. I had open heart surgery where I was actually down and out of school for a couple months. So at that point, my brother, my middle-aged brother, brought me a PS3 because I would be out of school for a while, and the first game was NASCAR 9. So I mean, that's where I actually grew into liking racing a little bit more. I would sit down for pretty much just during the day, race on my system, go down downstairs at the time, and obviously being in school, living with my parents and stuff like that, and just go down there on Sundays and watch the racing with my dad. So I learned a little bit more on what racing was. So that's how I got my outlet into iRacing, learning and kind of wanting to actually take that leap to kind of have a little bit more of a realistic approach to driving, and getting to this level and the personal challenges I've actually had. The meaning behind the championship is great. Being able to get $100,000 was a personal achievement that went very far for me for my health, health reasons and stuff, because there's never honestly any, set plan when things can go wrong. So I always got to have, health insurance and health, just keep my health a priority. And that's a real big, real big asset to have and lean on. So, being able to actually get the championships, just means the world to me. I don't think people can really understand that.
Nick Ottinger will try to improve on his runner-up finish in last Monday night's class, the preseason warm-up for tonight's race at Daytona this evening. And to learn a little bit more about the World Center of Racing, let's turn to the man who, for at least the next few hours, is technically still the most recent restrictor plate winner in the Coke Series. Brandon Cattell, take us around Daytona International Speedway.
Did you hear that, Chris?
Yeah, I heard it. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get on with it.
All right. Daytona International Speedway, guys. This is one of the best tracks in all of racing. My personal first trip at the track was the 2007 Daytona 500. The best race I've ever seen. Location, Daytona Beach, Florida. You would think the track is relatively flat because Florida is a flat track. But believe it or not, the elevation is 26.25 feet or 8 meters. Length is 2.5 miles and 4.02 kilometers. The banking is 31 degrees. Steep banking at Daytona International Speedway, guys. I've walked on the banking. It's incredible. The start finish line where the finish will happen tonight is 18 degrees of banking. Quick little note here: you can actually write your name on the start finish line at Daytona, which is really cool to do.
Leave your own signature and your own piece of history at a historic racetrack in and of itself. Always fun for fans to do when they get to the World Center of Racing. But it's almost time to go green flag racing. Before we do, though, the most important thing, we need to figure out who you all think is going to win tonight's race. So, Chris Overland, I turn to you. Who's your pick to win the season opener at Daytona?
Well, it's Daytona, right? You got to go with the Earnhardt family. You always do. I'm not picking the 3, though. I'm picking the 88. I'm picking Brad Davies to win this race tonight. Brad has had some solid runs. He's been a series veteran for many, many years. And I think tonight Brad actually gets it done. Like we've said, I mean, anybody can win these races. Anybody can win these super speedway races. And Brad Davies, I think he comes out tonight. He gets rid of that bad luck that he's had for the last few years. I mean, he cements himself into the playoffs tonight.
Seasoned veteran Chris Overland's pick. How about Michael Corellia? Who do you think parks it in victory lane?
Well, on my end, something that I noticed was that 2 teammates were working together, and that's from Xset. And the driver I'm going from is with that team, and his name is Casey Kerwin. Kerwin has shown his speed definitely throughout multiple special events throughout the years here on the sim, and he's just one of those drivers that when they get hooked up between himself and Ryan Luza, the pairing seemed to work very well in the clash, and it very well might as well work out today. And that's my pick for today, is Casey Kerwin.
Brandon can tell you've got home field advantage. This one of your home tracks being a Florida native, so maybe you know a little bit better than everybody else what to look for and who should be winning tonight's race.
Well, it's up there. Malik Ray, man, he is the restrictor plate king. He's gonna get it done tonight. And I tell you right now, he can control the lanes like nobody else. He gets the win at Daytona.
You're crowning him the king with no wins? He's going to have to do it tonight, man, before you give him the crown of the king.
He's going to do it.
That's a bold statement coming from the former Super Speedway king. Am I right?
Yeah. I guess I just have to get back in the series to become king again.
Hey, man, one wreck, and all 3 of our picks are going to be out. That's another pick I'm making for tonight.
Not if you're in the lead, Chris.
Fair enough.
Probably not a bad idea to lead on these drivers' experience. They know a little bit. Drivers, thank you so much for your help in getting us set for the season opener for the Coke Series 12th season at Daytona. And we turn our attention from our driver panel to the gentleman who will lead tonight's broadcast. Tim Terry and Evan Pashoko going to join us momentarily and back for yet another season of coverage. Names that you know very well and become very used to throughout the years. They know the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series inside out, and as well as just about anybody. So looking forward to hear their thoughts on the all-new Countdown to Green show and their expectations for what we can see, what we might see, what we may not see, what could happen. This, of course, being Daytona International Speedway, there's plenty of different things that could play out because there's so many different variables in play, so many different pieces that you have to watch out for. But Tim and Evan, what should we be on the lookout for this evening?
Well, I just wanted to start by saying I'm happy that you guys have to do the picks this year because it was always such an impossible task, and I think we all remember how well that went for me. I'm just so excited that this is the 12th season of this, but this is going to be a Daytona unlike any other, Tim. And you know this, normally when we get to the season opener, we're talking about guys just being happy to be back, right? Sure, it'd be nice to get a win to start the year. It'd be nice to get some points, but it's not the end-all be-all. For somebody tonight, they're going to be in the playoffs, right? For the first time ever, we'll have a playoff driver after round one. So that's what I'm really excited for.
The pressure is going to be off for somebody, Evan, but at the end of the day, the intensity is going to ramp up. We saw it in the Clash last week. We saw all kinds of great racing action, but we saw a couple of wrecks last year in this race. It went green to checkered without a wreck, except for at the start-finish line at lap 100. So what to expect? James asked us. I really don't know what to expect. I can't wait to see this green flag fly.
I think we're expecting the unexpected, James. That goes without saying, and we're ready to get this 2021 season underway.
Only one thing left to do. Get the cars on track, get the engines fired, and get rolling in this first race of the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series season. That concludes tonight's iRacing Countdown to Green, refreshed by Coca-Cola. We'll take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We're back from the World Center of Racing with the first racing action of 2021 just after this.
This Coca-Cola Zero Sugar tastes mighty delicious.
Come on, buddy.
But
If you keep lying like this, you'll be a puppet forever.
it's the honest truth.
You're right. It's delicious.
I never lie.
I am where it begins. The season, the story, all of it. I am the one and only place. I am first. But for everyone involved, I am everlasting. Not here to be kind or gentle. Why would I? This is what everyone dreams about. And for one, it all becomes reality. I am the Daytona 500. I am NASCAR.
Nick Ottinger, the 2020 eNASCAR champion.
It ain't a game now.
Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
Road to $300,000 begins anew on the virtual high banks of the World Center of Racing. Where tonight from the Daytona International Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We're happy to have you strapped in to the virtual seat and along for the ride with us for a 12th season of eNASCAR competition alongside the vet Tim Terry. As always, my name is Evan Pasoka. Tim, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's great to be back, and great to be back at Daytona. We saw some great racing last week with the Clash, and now 40 cars getting ready to hit the grid. We're going to lock somebody into the playoffs at the end of this race. I can't wait to see who ends up in victory lane.
I'm ready. I don't know if I've been this excited for a season opener in quite some time. New teams, new faces, new names. We've got it all as we prepare to embark on an 18-race championship here in 2021. And, of course, it always starts with the tricky opener at Daytona. We've already got you ready with Countdown to Green, so let's give it over to tonight's Grand Marshal to get tonight underway.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Steve Phelps. I'm the president of NASCAR. What an exciting season we had in 2020. Both on, NASCAR broadly, but then specifically in iRacing. What a tremendous partnership that we have with iRacing. The growth that was experienced was just incredible. And I think we led all sports from an esports standpoint, led by the efforts of you all. So really excited as we head into 2021. This is the 12th season for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. I want to thank Coca-Cola for its partnership. This will be the largest prize purse we've ever had. So really excited about that you guys will be competing for. So this is the first of 7 days of racing here in Daytona. I couldn't be more thrilled coming in with the Daytona 500, but it really starts tonight. And I get to do my first command of all time. So with that, I'll jump right into it. Drivers, start your engines!
Fire it up, driver. Let's go.
Fire it up.
Driver, go ahead.
Cars are on track at Daytona. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. And I talk about some of the new faces. How about Mitchell DeYoung? Pole position right out of the gate with a 46.109. He will bring us to the green to kick off 2021 alongside Chris Shearburn on the front row. Keegan Leahy's 32. Bobby Zielinski's 83 will start third to fourth position with Ashton Crowder and Garrett Lowe, Tim, the top six.
Row number 4 on this grid is going to see a couple of common names in that row when you have Jake Nichols and Zach Nichols rolling off in that next row. Logan Clampett and Casey Kerwin, two familiar names to the series in row number 5. And then Brad Davies and Ray Alfala. Talk about veterans in row number 6.
And new looks as well. Just behind them, you got the likes of Dylan Duval and Alan Bowes representing McLaren Shadow, one of the new teams. Isaac Gaw and Corey Vincent back on row number 8. And then it's a JTG duo of Derek Justice and Brian Schoenberg, your top 18.
The former series champion Zach Novak starting in the next row for Richmond Raceway Esports. Ryan Luza outside row number 10. Nick Ottinger, the reigning champion, in row number 11. Femi Olat to the outside in row 11. Malik Gray going to be one to watch here this evening. He will roll from position number 23 into the outside is the 24th place of Garrett Maines.
Continue it on through. You see the space station entry of Vicente Salas, Jimmy Mullis, Graham Boland, Blake Reynolds, Nathan Lyon, and John Gorlinski. We got a lot of vets, but again, not a lot of new looks for all these drivers for this season.
And you look back here, these guys have to get on it here at some point in this 100-lap race to get themselves to the front. Busa, Wilson, Taylor Hurst back in the series, Michael Guest, Kane Cook, and Jake Matheson coming off a top 3 finish in the Clash.
Looking to try to translate that into some good look in Daytona. And then all the way at the back, Blade Witt, Michael Conti, Ryan Doucette, and Bob Bryant. So look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola starting grid positions 1 through 40. Of course, it's a 250-mile task ahead of us. You don't need to start at the front of the field, certainly, to have a chance at Daytona. As we heard on the pre-race show, that's the beauty of this track and of this kind of track when we go plate racing, is everybody has an opportunity, highlighted this year by the fact that a race win here tonight could lock you into the playoffs for 2021. But it's not necessary to start at the front, Tim, but I know it certainly will help too. Mitchell DeYoung is on pole tonight. You're chatting with him.
Well, let's ask Mitchell how important that starting position is, the 23 DoorDash car up front. Mitchell, how important is this pole position?
Man, I tell you what, this is really cool. I couldn't tell you, I did not expect this at all, but I think it's a testament to, the guys that did the work on the car. We have a top 4 out of this, so incredible work by them. I'm so stoked to be here. My first start on pole. But of course, as everyone knows, we have a long race ahead. I think the difficult part starts now, so we'll have to try to manage the best we can.
You've been involved in World Championship Series here on iRacing, but you're a rookie to this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Does the pressure from the other series prepare you for tonight at all?
I think it always helps a little bit. For sure, we're in a lot of different series, and it's. I think you can take a little bit from everything. So every single race you do is a big learning experience. So I definitely give it to that.
Well, we wish you all the best. Go get them tonight.
Thank you.
There's Mitchell DeYoung, one of our rookies here this season. Evan, 11 rookies in this series getting ready to go green, and he's got the best view starting out on that front row.
I didn't think you could be that qualified and still count as a rookie. Time for everybody's favorite part of the broadcast. It's Terry time, Tim. You've got tonight's Aces race analysis.
Absolutely. We're going to go 100 laps tonight, 250 miles. Pit road speed going to be 60 miles an hour. 4 tire sets available for these drivers. Fuel window 35 to 39. Watch that number. That's going to be fun if we do go green. And last year's winner, it was a frantic finish at the end, but it was Keegan Leahy going to victory lane.
One of 2 race winners here at Daytona International Speedway last year. You've only got to have to worry about it one time here in 2021. It is going to be 18 races before we determine our champion, and it all starts here from Daytona Beach. As always, happy that you're spending a Monday evening with us on the iRacing Esports Network. The pace car going to dive to the safety of the pit lane, and the field will go into the hands of 2311's Mitchell DeYoung. A pace car down for the first time in 2021. Let's go racing from Daytona. A lot of shuffling already opening lap of this race. You can see the jockeying down the back straightaway down to a 3rd lane in turns 3 and 4. A late move high by Garrett Lowe. He'll pick up the number 41 car of Dylan Duval. Tim, we saw this in the Clash. No surprise. We're 3 wide. After lap number 1, DeYoung gets the lap lead.
But here comes that Wood Brothers number 21 to the outside, and Garrett Lowe trying to bring it to the lead with the 41 of Dylan Duval from Stuart Haas on his back bumper. We're 3 wide, stacked about 4 deep already, Evan. They're wasting no time getting at it.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe me if I told you it was a 100-lap and 250-mile race. They want to get at it from the get-go. Already communication amongst the 21 and the 41 up top. Those drivers trying to coordinate. Duval telling Garrett Lowe, hey, you're too high. Step down just a little bit. Try to make that third line viable. We're 3 wide, 3 rows deep up top. Basically, everybody else only side by side to make it 2 rows deep now because Alan Bowes puts his McLaren Shadow Camaro back in line. It is just the 21 and the 41. And up top for the moment, there's the first lap led for the number 36 machine of Chris Shearburn in the middle.
You mentioned Alan Bowes. It's great to see Alan Bowes back in this series. He knows his way to victory lane at Daytona, so if anybody's going to get there, it may very well be that driver's you ride on board with the XZ number 38. Casey Kerwin trying to make his way towards the front of the field, but got plenty of time as he works that second groove, the outside groove to the inside, and it's a third groove because there goes the 90 Novak.
Bowes, a 3-time race winner in this series, and you're on board, as you mentioned, with the car behind him, that 38 machine of Casey Kerwin, his teammate directly to his outside. That's the number 4 car up top of Ryan Luza. Again, a lot of the new looks for the XZ entries in their Ford Mustangs, and it looks like they want to get hooked up. The 4 are going to take a step down, and they'll find themselves about 6 spots deep in that middle lane. I'm sure not the most comfortable position to be early, but anytime you can find a helping hand is always helpful, especially here, though, in the season opener in a plate race like Daytona International Speedway. So bottom and mid, still the place to be early on. The last time by, 25 cars within 1 second of each other up front. Those leaders on the bottom and mid hold strong. You can see another duo. I talk about mates entering the party. I spy the number 90 of Zach Novak up top with that number 46 of Jimmy Mullis behind him.
Returning teammates to Richmond Raceway Esports. They have to be comfortable after working together for so long, albeit different colors on those race cars this season. Evan, got to get used to the 46 having those Sunoco colors on it, but they are working to that outside with Garrett Lowe and trying to bring that outside line towards the front of the field. They're about 10th place or so right now as they gain momentum down the superstretch.
You remember, Garrett Lowe had some help with the 41 machine, but that was quickly falling apart once Duval dove down to the bottom. So Garrett Lowe fell back, and that's why you have this trio. And talking about a little bit of a sight for sore eyes, how about Ray Alfalo once again in this championship, but in a very different look? He makes that transition over to the number 51 Rowdy Energy Toyota, the 4-time champ. A little bit further back from this lead pack. That's about 1.2 seconds off of the race leader, and I wouldn't say they're entirely their own pack, but you can see some side-by-side back there with a couple of challengers to the very outside. Matt Busa being pushed by Michael Conti. These are all drivers who started in the 30s trying to make some early headway.
And then you see these drivers up in front kind of dancing 2 and 3 wide, trying to take the lead away and trying to see what they have early in the run and try to push their cars a little bit closer towards the front of the field. Mitchell DeYoung to the inside, Chris Shearburn in that second groove, and way up top is that 21 of Garrett Lowe trying to make it happen. They've made some moves up to the front. They've made some real estate up there, Evan, but it's only 3 cars, so they can only go so far. It's going to be Shearburn and that number 23 DeYoung continuing to lead us around here.
Yeah, with 3 cars, it's easier to coordinate than if you had 13, right? You can kind of get everybody on the same page, and you saw that big burst of speed. They made up about 4 or 5 car lengths on the top real quick, almost went all the way to the race lead. But it is going to be more difficult once they start to get a little bit hot. That's why you can see the 90 and the 46. They're necessarily all the way on the bumper of each other because they need to keep some cool air coming to the front of those race cars. Once you start to get a little bit hot after that big initial burst of speed is gone, it's easy to sag back. So they're going to be relying on a little bit of that side draft down in the corners, trying to stay a little bit off of the outside wall to stay even. We are 3 wide still, working lap number 8. Let's introduce the 3rd member of our broadcast team as we go to pit road with Justin Prince.
Many of the drivers towards this back end of the group right now are concerned about trying to keep the draft as well as concerned about fuel mileage. And one of the main things involving some of these drivers was some of these contenders towards the back had talked about wanting to be a bit more on the aggressive side this season to try and make more moves to show that in some cases, such as Malik Ray, they were some of the top super speedway drivers in the campaign. These drivers all concerned about trying to keep up to the draft early on in this race, early in this event.
Tim, there's certainly such thing as being too far behind, and there's also such a thing as being not far enough behind, right? You want to drop back a little bit, stay out of the chaos, but you do need to walk that line. You're on board with the number 2 machine. That is Garrett Main, scored 21st position, currently drafted up with the 97 machine of Logan Clampett, representing Elliott Sadler Esports down on the bottom side of the racetrack. Offer pad on that Toyota, another one of the new teams and partners to this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And tell you what, he looks pretty calm for being too wide early in this one. I think he's just pretty content with riding right now at about mid-pack.
And especially with some of these rookies trying to calm those nerves. And I think Garrett Maines looks pretty calm, cool, and collected right now as he runs middle of this pack. His teammate Ashton Crowder a little bit closer towards the front of the field as we get ready to see another look. There's our defending champion. He knows his way to victory lane at Daytona as well. How about Nick Ottinger?
He knows a thing or two about getting it done when it matters. And Nick Ottinger, your 2018 Daytona winner. Doing a good job of just kind of hanging out. I know I had just mentioned the 97 of his teammate Logan Clampett. You can see Clampett down on the bottom. That is the William Byron Esports duo for 2021. No shock that they are in and around each other. You'll see a lot of that over the course of this race. Not necessarily pushing, but 97 down low, 25 up top, just staying in the same zip code, I think is the priority at the moment for your defending series champion. He added himself to quite a list, Tim, of past series champions. We saw Zach Novak in 2019 become a first-time champ. Of course, the year before that, it was Ray Alfala's record 4th title in 2018, joining the likes of Luza and Conti as active drivers in the series, who are also defending series champions.
And speaking of series champions, how about Zach Novak on the outside, the Richmond Raceway Esports car? And he's currently in position number 6, but he is on the outside of what would be row number 2 right now as these guys continue to work around. And you can see in the rearview mirror those Sunoco colors, his teammate Jimmy Mullis following him through.
And he's making sure you know that he's a defending champ with that champion patch on the t-shirt as well. Still just those 3 on the very outside. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing on track tonight and want to get in on some of the fun, now's the time to do it, because with iRacing, every day is race day. For more information on how to start your sim racing career, visit iRacing.com today for more information. Tim, just looking that shot down the back straightaway, about a dozen cars in the middle. You've got those 3 up on the very outside, and then everybody else single file stretching quite a ways back. There are more drivers that would rather not be 3 wide right now than there are drivers who want to be. I think that's clear early.
And I think for the most part, they have their agendas together. You see a lot of teammates up here at Letard Esports in that middle groove. You have 2311 to the inside trying to work together. Richmond Raceway Esports is up here as well. You've got the 21 up on top. That is the Garrett Lowe machine. We're going to ride on board with Michael Conti. Another one of those teams that kind of came back together, JRM, with Michael Conti and Brad Davies, and both of those two know a thing or two about super speedway racing. Conti, a former champion, and he's kind of got that look. He's kind of focused and ready to see what's going on ahead of him. He's ready for something to happen.
I think the age-old saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Michael Conti mentioned a past series champion from back in 2014, also a 10-time race winner. Brad Davies, not too shabby either, a 6-time race winner. That's got him 8th on the all-time wins list. So you put those 2 drivers together, that may be the one of course, because Alfala kind of tips the scales, but one of the most winning driver duos amongst the teams in this 2021 campaign. 14 laps in to a 100-lap sprint. Tim, I was going to call it a 100-lap marathon, but they seem to be going hard from the get-go. And like we said, right when that 3 wide popped off at the end of this opening lap, this is not surprising. If you watched the clash last week, it's exactly what we saw. That one got a little bit messy. I know we alluded to how clean last year's Daytona opener was until they came to the checkered flag, but it still was a 0 in the yellow column on the stat sheet. But these races can always go so many different ways, and when it is a razor-thin margin like you are when you're 3 wide, and if you're planning on doing it all night, you're going to be 3 wide for an hour and a half, you can't step up a half a foot. You can't accidentally pinch down a half a foot too much. That is going to cause an incident. So there is such an immense amount of trust that these drivers are all placing into one another, Tim. And when a quarter of the field is rookies, that goes to show you how serious I think the vets are taking these rookies. We talk about somebody like a Mitchell DeYoung, who is still holding the bottom after starting on pole. Somebody like an Alan Bose, even not a rookie, but coming back into this for the drivers who didn't compete last year in 2020. Even if you are a true-blooded rookie, you're still a sim racing vet.
Yeah, absolutely you are, but you want to make that statement here, Evan. You want to get to the front. You want to win one of these races, and you want to do it early in the season, especially if it's a win and you're in proposition. But these drivers up in front, they're familiar with each other. There's a lot of that respect level, and I think the first little thing we're going to have to find out around that fuel window bubble is, and as Justin Prince mentioned, is the potential of green flag pit stops coming up just after lap number 30. I think that's going to be the real ticket and the real telltale here, especially if this thing goes 100 laps green like it did in 2020.
And we would be, in theory, already halfway through this opening stint if that is what we are racing towards before we see the first bit of strategy play in. On board with our Coca-Cola on board. Let's ride with the number 3. That's Corey Vincent. And some close moments at the front of the field. You can see the number 21 machine of Garrett Lowe now leading that middle lane. He got the push from Novak around the outside, stepped down, but a little bit of miscommunication. Chris Sherburne tried to work to the top. They nearly touched it, checked everybody up, and now Lowe going to take one more step all the way down to the double yellow line. So for the first time tonight, Mitchell DeYoung's got a look at a front bumper in front of him, and it's your new race leader, the 21 ride spin Ford of Garrett Lowe.
And a great little move to get the lead. And Evan, I think when you talk about big picture this season, he may be a championship contender here. He's proven himself these last couple of years as a veteran now of this series. He's able to race up here for wins. If he can lock himself in to the playoffs through Daytona, it would be huge. But right now, he's showing that Wood Brothers spin number 21 is up in front and doing pretty well right now after coming down from the third to the second to the bottom groove and leading this pack around. And this time by, we will complete lap number 20.
You got big movers, the likes of Novak, Mullins, and all that from outside of the top 20 into the top 10, but still early at Daytona. 20 laps now complete. You're watching the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
This Coca-Cola Zero Sugar tastes mighty delicious.
Come on, buddy.
But
if you keep lying like this, you'll be a puppet forever.
It's the honest truth.
You're right. It's delicious.
I never lie.
The season, the story, all of it. I am the one and only place. I am first. But for everyone involved, I am everlasting. Not here to be kind or gentle. Why would I? This is what everyone dreams about. And for one, it all becomes reality. I am the Daytona 500. I am NASCAR.
And back live from Daytona, coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And by Asus, the official gaming hardware partner of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Well, shuffling it up towards the front of the field, a new race leader out in front, Chris Sherbert once more, but it's the order that is shuffled all the way around. Garrett Lowe went from the middle to the bottom. He was followed by Zach Nichols, the number 29 Chill Blast Ford, who now works the bottom lane as your current race leader. Working out number 24 of 100, inching towards possible first round of green flag pit stops. Still 3 wide, so clearly, Tim, they don't seem too concerned about not being in line enough to come down pit road yet. In fact, more drivers now entering the picture. Up top, there's Alan Bose's 67 Chevy, third in line up top behind those Richard Raceway Eastwoods too.
And excited to see another rookie up in front and leading a lap here at Daytona, Zach Nichols for Williams Esports, and that inside groove right now, but it looks like those Letarte Esports teammates are going to get pushed to the lead, or at least one of them will. Chris Sherbert, that's a beautiful looking 36 car this season. A great job by the Letarte Esports guys on that. He is going to go to the lead position. Bobby Zielinski in the 83 in that middle groove with a little help from behind. Enter Ryan Luza in the mix. Start at 20th, all the way up here in the top 10.
And that 36 machine has the Netflix original series The Crew on it, debuting February 15th on Netflix, and talking about some of the drivers with new teams and new looks. None other than Malik Ray in the middle, the driver to Greer, South Carolina, now driving the number 11 Ford for Space Station. And that team, I think, Tim, for all the hype videos we saw in the offseason, I think they definitely knocked it out of the park, because those guys wrapped a real NASCAR Cup Series Ford Mustang in that eNASCAR livery and had both of their drivers do a real cool promo. So many of the teams were involved in the course of the offseason, again, with all of the silly season now underway, and it was really cool to see them get involved. And sticking with that theme in the Red Room this time, it's Ryan Luza driving the number 4 Ford at the moment. If you look, Tim, on the wall behind him, that is his iRacing Super Late model.
Yeah, he does a lot of the short track racing. New Smyrna Speedway lit it up here earlier this season, and I know he wanted to be at the World Series of Asphalt, but he's working towards a championship here this season in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series to try to win championship number 2 in this series. And right now, he's coming to the front of the field. He's worked his way up from what was that 20th place starting position into the top 10 and now into the top 5. And it wouldn't surprise me, Evan, before we see those green flag pit stops, to see that exit number 4 leading this field before we come down pit road.
His teammate Casey Kerwin not that far behind. They were a little bit closer earlier in this race, but have been split up just a little bit. And it is still that, I think, classic already paint scheme on board with Bobby Zielinski leading the outside line. I talked about 2 races at Daytona last year. We mentioned Keegan Leahy, the defending season opener winner. Well, Bobby Zielinski won it in the fall, and he's currently running in the middle. We talk about his road course prowess, but he likes to stick with that formula rim. He's using it here on the oval in his VRS-sponsored number 83 car, Tim. Similar look, but another driver who made some moves over the offseason.
And currently side by side with his teammate. That last lap by was led by Zach Novak, but Bobby Zielinski, Chris Shearburn, the two Letarte Esports teammates, side by side, and they will lead the pack down into the high banks in corners number 1 and 2. But we continue to see some new names kind of shuffling towards the front of the field. Dylan Duval in the middle of the pack giving a shove to Ryan Luza. Bobby Zielinski leading that train in the middle groove. And we're starting to see some drivers position themselves, I believe, Evan, in the next 10 laps or so to see these drivers duck down onto pit road. I'm sure those calculators on those pit boxes are smoking right now, trying to figure out what to do.
Working hard. We have more drivers now inside of the top 10 that started outside of the top 10 than drivers that started up there. So there's been a lot of movement early, and talk about a little bit of a rebrand and a fresh look for the number 32 machine of Keegan Leahy, his VRS Toyota. Trying to get up there with his teammate Mitchell DeYoung for 2311 Racing. Those two work at the bottom. Right now, 4th and 5th, I should say, respectively, of the cars on the bottom. That puts them just on the cusp of running in the top 10 right now. But we've seen at least probably half a dozen different race leaders to this point, and Shearburn, who started second, has been the most consistent of all of them. Led a lot in the middle, has led a lot on the bottom. Those Richard Raceway cars up top have gotten split apart. You can see that 11 of Malik Ray has squeezed his way in between them at the moment, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult maybe for them to coordinate and hook up. And driver we're talking about a lot so far, Tim McAdoy's Alan DeBose dropping from the top to the middle. He's 4th in line right now behind Duval.
Yeah, the McLaren Shadow entry of the 67 of Bose, and we've got trouble on the racetrack as you saw that kind of jerk around. We're still green, and these guys have saved it, and I don't know how they did it, Evan.
A lot of damage, no caution at the moment. It started with the 4. You can see Malik Ray, heavy damage on the front of his Ford Mustang. He has no front end. I wonder if that car's still even under power as he comes off at turn number 4. But that was a big mess that started with about 4 cars smacking the outside wall. They scattered at a 2. No caution, though. We stay green. And for a lead pack that was really tightly packed in there for so long, this entire field now has split apart.
And it just goes to show that these drivers are the best in the business with this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, able to get away from that. And you see that battle up in front. How about Garrett Lowe coming back to the front with Bobby Zielinski, Mitchell DeYoung? They were able to escape all the excitement through all that. And you've got 5 up here that have the lead pack. And I think we're going to take a little look at what happened there.
So I'm going to look for the 4. I saw Ryan Luza 2nd in line in the middle. That's the number 90 machine up on top of him. And I don't know if the 90 came down, Tim. The 4 goes up the hill, but Novak and Luza come together, and they both go up and into the outside wall. Pretty hard contact, and then everybody else scatters. There's Malik Ray with the front end ripped off the race car. At least 5 cars I saw with some pretty notable damage, but nobody spun all the way around. There wasn't any wreck. They all just kind of smacked into each other in the fence, so there was no yellow. This race stays green, and now you have all top 10 cars basically involved in that incident that are either heavily damaged and totally out of this race, or just having lost a ton of time because they lifted to get out of that. We had, 25 cars within a second of each other. Last time by, only the top 11 within 1 second of each other. There's still a lot of cars in this. It didn't take all of them out. That was not the big one, but it was awfully close. A lot of drivers who were right behind that, lucky they're still in this.
And all the race cars we started with, Evan, are still on the racetrack right now. So that's a good sign, but there's going to be some with a lot of damage having to be repaired and probably out of the running to win this race this evening. How about last season's winner in this race, Keegan Leahy, going to the top of the board, the VRS number 32 for 2311, and he is going to come by this time and complete lap number 34 on the racetrack.
You can see throughout the field, the leaders are side by side, but this is kind of where they're trying to pick up the pieces, right? You saw the 6 there in Nathan Lyon, a little bit further behind. The 24 machine of Jake Nichols, then the 97 of Logan Clempitt. these cars look clean to me, but they're kind of at the very tail end of this lead group because once you get behind Clampett, you've got Davies, and then it's a second back to Steven Wilson, Kane Cook, Jake Matheson, and company. So these drivers need to stay in the draft. They do not want to lose touch with this totally new-looking front pack, as now the leader on the outside, the number 38 machine, Casey Kerwin, pushed by Conti, and there is an early pit stop for the 11 machine. That's the damage on Malik Ray. Tim, his night probably done with the amount of damage the front end of that race car took.
It's going to take some work to get that thing back out here on the racetrack. But here's a couple of names we haven't spoke about all night long. How about Michael Conti and the number 10 of Graham Boland working the outside? We haven't talked a whole lot about them, but it's kind of done that. And we see on the top of the screen Malik Ray, the number 11, not meeting minimum speed. He's been black flagged, and that's why he's on pit road.
That will end his night. That ends the guessing there. Also, penalty for the 90 of Zach Novak for not maintaining minimum speed. Those drivers were trying to keep those cars on track after the damage they sustained. They have been black flagged by race control and brought down to pit road. I believe they may be given the opportunity to fix it, but Malik Ray feels like his night is done. That car, just see it now, rolling behind the virtual wall and to the garage. His night done, not the way he wanted to kick off his 2021 campaign. And we set it off at the top. Daytona has always been a race where you want to start your season off well, but it is not the end-all be-all. Well, with that win dangling in front of everybody, maybe a DNF going to sting just a little bit more, especially with all those drivers who sustained damage were running at the front of the field. But I think a max exodus to pit road, Tim, coming this time. We're working lap number 37. Some of them are too wide, though. Let's see how this works off the 4.
Hit your marks on this stop. Here comes Bobby Zielinski down. Here comes Casey Kerwin down. They're all going to woe it down, and this one's going to get tight for somebody down there. I think for the most part, these guys are getting down there with not a whole lot of contact.
Yeah, that was Schoenberg who went way sideways. Schoenberg got on the brakes in front of the 37 machine, and Derek Justice hit him in the back end. That's why that 47 darted across the racetrack. He tried to lock it up. He just tagged the number 2 of Garrett Maines. Maines is going to get some right rear damage, but I believe he was able to get down to pit road speed in time. So was Schoenberg. So no penalty is going to be handed out there, but some damage to the cars who weren't able to navigate it. I thought it was going to be a little bit sketchy with the 2 wide, and it was. Here's the rest of the field now. Conti down pit road. You got Bolin in, Leahy, Clampett, Davies, Ottinger, Olat, and more. It's about the other half. 5 wide to pit road, but I think they made it down safe.
Evan, I think you're right. Everybody is down on pit road now getting service to their race cars, and everybody from the entry in, I think, looks pretty clean right now, knock on wood, as we see the number 38 of Casey Kerwin leading the field down the back straightaway.
So Casey Kerwin cycling back up to speed. He was the lead car for that first group who came down pit road, but he doesn't have the draft help right now. And check out this duo. High side, Bobby Zielinski, pushed by Garrett Lowe. There is nothing Casey Kerwin can do about that. And Bobby Z going to go back to the race lead if they can cycle to the top of the board, because what you'll see through 1 and 2, there's all the slow cars who just came off pit road. Are they going to cycle all the way ahead? It looks like Graham Boland in the 10, trailed by Logan Clampett in the 97. These are the lead cars off of pit road for those who pitted on the second time around. They're still in front for the moment, Tim, but wait for it. That's what about a 10-mile-an-hour difference looks like, and now rocketing back to the top of the board is the 83 and company.
But I think if we give it a lap or so, that accordion for a lot of these drivers will squeeze back together, and we'll have a bigger pack right now being 8 up in front, and then a couple trying to get that draft, Keegan Leahy and the rest trying to make it work up to what would be Bobby Zielinski and those front 8 or so as we work down into corners number 1 and 2. Mitchell DeYoung on the outside. Graham Boland takes a look to the inside. Logan Clampett, Brad Davies there as well. Garrett Maines in the 2. Little shot from the 32 of Keegan Leahy. And for the most part, 40 laps in this time by, looks pretty clean so far. Good job on those green flag pit stops.
we have had our moments, but so far so good. DeYoung was the 4th car in line of that group that had cycled back around the number 10 machine, but credit goes to Graham Boland for not just rolling over and giving him the bottom. He kind of forced his way into this pack, and now the number 30 to Kerwin going to step up to work with the 23, and all is right in the world. We are side by side and now 3 wide in the lead pack as the number 32 of Keegan Leahy goes way to the outside, JP.
Absolutely, and Ryan Luza right now frustrated to say the very least. Take a listen.
Dude, yeah, I mean, we're on lap 30. What the we like side drafting and pinching? Yeah, I don't beat minimum speed.
And Ryan Luza talking about trying to get the damage repaired, spent several minutes getting that car fixed, hoping to reach minimum speed around the racetrack.
And he is back on track now, but 5 laps down. I know similar penalties assessed to Malik Wright, who's already retired, Zach Novak, who has not gotten back on track. So, I mean, those were heavy hits, Tim. You don't really get much more damage than that in a non-yellow incident. Normally, it's a couple of cars beat and bang, you get a bit of damage. You can see the right rear quarter panel of Garrett Mains's Toyota, second in line in the middle. That's normally what you get, right? You get a bit of a shot, you get some damage, but it's not race-ending. I know there's some rear bumper damage on the 8 of Michael Conti. Doesn't look all that bad on his WR1 Sim Chassis Camaro, but those other 3 just look like they got through a blender, and not a good way to kick off your campaign.
And we talk about that win and you're in mentality, but if you don't win a race this season, as we take a look at the right-hand side of your screen, we're going to see Mitchell DeYoung in the 23 have a little brush with the outside wall. But that win and you're in mentality, you want to win, but with the competitive nature of this series, you really need to focus on getting to victory lane, but you also need to focus maybe in the back of your mind on points. It is a long regular season, Evan, but you don't want to start it off here with bad momentum after leaving Daytona.
And saw with that replay a little bit friendly with the outside wall was the 23 of DeYoung. Michael Conti not leaving much room to spare as he will slide from the 3rd lane down to the middle and now leads that line. I thought the number 2 of Mains. You've also got the 44 of Isaac Gahn in there for Klingerman Sport through the middle. His Valvoline entry ahead of defending champion Nick Ottinger. Femi Olat now in that number 18 Interstate Batteries Toyota entry for Gibbs Gaming. All the new looks, all the new faces. Going to be an adjustment period, I think, for the first couple of weeks of this year. And now without his teammate, the 46, Jimmy Mullins, trying to make the middle work.
Yeah, you look up ahead of him, that's Derek Justice in the 37, another one of the rookies to the series. Glad to see Derek make it in here. A great personality on his social media, and he's trying to push to the front. But Jimmy Mullis, brand new colors on his race car, not new to the Richmond Raceway Esports team. Sunoco is on the hood of that 46, and a beautiful looking paint job that is. He's trying to bring that towards the front of the field.
I think there's a lot of contenders for some of the best paints we've seen in this series in quite some time. And the objective, at least at a race like this, is to keep the car looking showroom ready. And hopefully you don't end up on the wrecker by the end of the night. And Tim, I know it feels like we just got this race underway. I won't say clean and green because we've had our moments. The big calamity off of turn number 2 before the pit stop. Some bits of contact onto pit road before, but uninterrupted through 45 laps. This year's an on-aboard look with 4-time Ray Alfala for Joe Gibbs Racing in his 51 Toyota. Still just hanging back. Started 12th. He's gone the opposite direction down to 25th. You can see him just at the top of your screen there as they rolled off for 4. This lead pack has reestablished itself as a 27-car group. You got your top, I'd say, dozen or so are in this 2 and 3 wide bit, and then the second half a single file off to the rear. We are still a pit cycle away from getting to the home stretch to the end of this race, Tim. So while some drivers want to go at it, look at Conti to the outside, right up in front of the 32 of Keegan Leahy to cut him off. And talking about Isaac Gahn, your Contender Series champion, trying to make some noise in the middle in his Klingerman Sport entry. Chevy this year, by the way, Tim.
A little bit dark in the room, but he is definitely focused on what is happening in front of him with Garrett Mains in the 2 and trying to bring himself in that Valvoline number 44 to the top of the board. And a beautiful looking Klingerman Sport car, and he's teammates this season with Bob Bryan, a veteran of sim racing. So I'm sure he's going to be able to use a little bit off him. JP, what's going on?
Well, Isaac Gann currently looking comfortable at the moment, had talked about with me earlier in the week about wanting to try and make sure he performs well in this series in full work terms. I don't want to participate. He says he's been watching this series for a decade and knows many of these drivers. He just doesn't want to hold a driver's spot. A driver that's been around on the service since 2013 and ramped up participation in 2020 has been making a statement with that performance in the Contender Series, now is looking to see what he can do here right now, making his way to the front, wanted some track position and some valuable points in this race.
Well, Tim, I just wanted to jump in on that point, right? To use that word, he's not just in this to participate, right? He's in this to contend. That goes back to the point that I said, even for the true-blooded rookies, there's still sim racing events. Derek Justice in a pretty good spot, was part of that calamity headed towards the pit stop. So I wonder if the front-end damage on his 37 is going to be hindering him. But all of these drivers, yes, they may be rookies. Yes, they may be some of the drivers returning to this series for the first time in some time. Is it a little bit intimidating? I'm sure. But let's not kid ourselves, Tim. In order to get to this point, right, through the Road to Pro qualifying series, through the Road to Pro Contender Series, that is still some of the best, most competitive racing in esports all around. So these drivers may be a little bit nervous to be here for the first time on the big stage, but they expect themselves to contend. I like that word.
And it's too early to talk relegation, but you fall down to that Contender Series, and we saw some big names not make it back into this series for this year, and we've seen it in previous years as well. So you want to make sure that you start your season off well at Daytona, and you're doing a little bit more than just participating in the series, and you get up on the wheel as you see that 44 on that inside line giving a push to Nichols. Femi Olat in front of him, the 18 car, having a good performance here this evening so far, up in the top 10, giving a little push to Graham Boland.
A little bit of a shorter season as well than what we had in the last couple of years with 18 rounds, so maybe a little bit more intensity right off of the bat, Justin?
Yes, indeed. And Casey Kerwin, one of the drivers who talked about before today's race, wanting track position early. He's right now trying to make his way and keep his way towards the front of the moment. Take a listen.
If you get clear and take it here, remember you got to control Bobby behind you. You can't let him pop up.
Casey Kerwin was very calm in preparation for this week as well. Keep in mind, trying to stay laser focused on the task at hand, perform well in this race.
And now halfway home in the Daytona 250, 50 laps down, 50 laps to go for the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Casey Kerwin awfully cozy up at the front of the field. He has settled in about maybe 15 to 20 laps away from another trip down to pit road before we could really start talking about this thing getting down towards the end. Been a while since the outside's been there, but here comes the 2311 duo, the number 32 of Keegan Leahy, pushed by Mitchell DeYoung. It is just them. Remember, we saw the Richmond Raceway Esports duo make the outside work. Do they get support up there, Tim, or is it going to be them versus the world?
This is about the second run that they've made in about the last 10 laps to go to the outside line. The first one was kind of thwarted by Michael Conti, kind of hopped to that outside line, and it kind of stalled out. They kind of went to the middle of this pack, and now they're doing it again, working that outside, but it's only two, but it seems to be a strong two as they pull up to the lead duo, and Keegan Leahy will make it a trio up in front with Garrett Lowe and the 38 of Kerwin to the inside. They go three wide down into corner number 3.
And lap traffic coming up as well, so this is going to get real tight. Ashton Crowder will hold the bottom. They're going to have to go up to the outside now. He'll go below the double yellow to relieve some of that pressure. That could have gotten real nasty out of 4. We saw a similar thing a few laps ago with Taylor Hurst, who was down on the bottom, and the lead pack kind of ate him up and absorbed him. They were doing about 10 miles an hour faster, and that 3 wide for the leaders turned into 4 wide with the lapped car on the bottom. Crowder and Hurst now fighting for a lucky dog position. Both those drivers lapped down in 36th and 37th, trying to bide for a potential wave around spot, a lucky dog spot, if this race gets the yellow flag a little bit later on. And now at the very front of the field, the number 10 machine of Graham Boland working through on the bottom. He got that big push by the 18 machine of Femi Olat. He decides, Tim, instead of holding the bottom, to take a step up to the middle. And I had just said that the 38 of Casey Kerwin was feeling pretty comfortable and has got to work again. He's the pusher there in the middle.
And that outside groove has kind of stalled a little bit, but they have a friend in Bobby Zielinski now to the outside in the 83 Letarte Esports entry and trying to give a little momentum to that top groove and bring it towards the front. Femi Olat, though, out in front in the 18. You got Graham Bolin on his outside in the 10. Graham Bolin came from the Gibbs Gaming number 18 last year. So for Bolin, it's kind of familiar faces and familiar colors up in front, even though he's in that Stuart Haas number 10 to the outside as they go side by side off of corner number 4. They'll come by this time, complete lap number 54.
Got to be like an out-of-body experience, right? Driving right alongside the car that you drove last year. Same colors at all this time, though, with Femi behind the wheel, leading now on the inside line. So a trio up top. Most cars are actually in the middle line right now. And a bit of a scarcity down low as behind the 18 of Olet, you've got the 29 of Zach Nichols. We've talked about him a good bit tonight. Then Isaac Gahn, followed by the 2 of Garrett Maines and that 37 of Derek Justice. So a lot of those new faces working the inside line right now, Tim, at lap 55.
And you kind of mentioned the damage on the 37 of Derek Justice. Been watching that car for the last 2 laps or so. The thing is able to suck up in traffic and able to get there. So I think the 37 of Justice may be okay here. You can see he's in that lead draft and mixing it up here in the top 10. Michael Conti goes to that bottom line, and that third groove, Evan, has kind of disintegrated. It's kind of left each other, but those 3 that were on the outside are now on what would be the new outside line in the second groove as they give a little push to Kerwin and Graham Bolin as they work down the straightaway. And it looks like, for the most part, as you can see in that shot there, most of this pack is 2x2.
And we'll see how long that lasted. Of course, it was the 3 wide that took out one of your top contenders in this one. Chatting now with the driver of the Bernina machine, Zach Novak. And Zach, I know you didn't want to be talking to us this early on, but it at least looked like a good start to your 2021 campaign. You were up there with Jimmy Mullis, your teammate, towards the front of the field, and all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, it was kind of gone. What did you see from behind the wheel?
I don't know. I was pinching pretty hard there to try and maximize the momentum, and that's what I was doing to get Garrett out front. And then we finally were starting to build a run with Jimmy, and I guess Luza just came up. I'm not really sure. I looked at the replay and it looked like that, but not much you can do there, man. I'm trying my hardest to go to the front, and I'm pinching pretty hard, but everybody should be able to hold the line, so I'm not really sure why we can't, but it is what it is.
I know it's a bit different this year, of course, with that win in your in dangling in front of you. Was that maybe the reason why you guys wanted to be up front and in the mix, or was it the fact that, listen, you had the support, you guys were starting up front? I mean, why get out there in that 3 wide so early?
I mean, to put it simply, I just wanted to be out front. I started mid-pack, and I kind of told myself before the race I wanted to be, up front in the mix or out hanging out back. So, the first option was obviously to go try and be out front, and we got up there pretty quick, and we're contending for the lead, and I believe we led a lap as well. So that was definitely the right choice. It just was unfortunate that we got caught up in that wreck.
Long way to go still this year, Zach. I know it's not the starter you wanted, but thanks for chatting with us.
Thanks, guys.
So that is the driver of the number 90 machine, Zach Novak. He'll finish this race 39th position after being towards the front for a bunch of the get-go in this, and he's still got a teammate to cheer on. And Tim, you're never safe no matter where you are on track here at Daytona. You can see the 18 of Olat going from the bottom to the middle, but again, holding it for the time being. Looked like he was trying to maybe bring Graham Bolin in the 10 car down of that Stuart Haas sports car, going to maintain that middle. And I'm sure these drivers aren't in any hurry to give up their position as the lead car in the line. It does come with a little bit of power.
I've got that feeling you're starting to see some of these cars dance around a little bit, Evan. The fuel's starting to burn off. I saw Casey Kerwin in the middle of that pack. You just kind of get a little light by the looks of it. Got a little sideways as much as you can going straight in this draft. And it looks like they've got it back to a manageable situation. But Femi Olat in the number 18 continuing to lead this field around Graham Bolin. And that outside line, those 2311 racing drivers are determined to come to the front of the field on that third groove. And you got the 83 of Letard Esports also up there as well. You've got Bobby Zielinski trying to help Keegan Leahy and Mitchell DeYoung right there along with those guys. So they're trying to work together, and I think try to get that outside groove to work. But at this point, 60 laps completed, it hasn't really got it to the lead with 2 cars.
Interesting to see some of those drivers working with teammates and others just working, with longtime friends, guys that they're comfortable with on track. You can see on board there with the number 1 machine of Ashton Crowder, his Elliott Sadler Esports teammate not that far away, and I know that they're all hoping for a good result. We're happy to have Elliott's team with us in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series for 2021, and wanted to pass on our best wishes and condolences to Elliott, who lost a close friend, and I know that he is hoping this team can get a good result for them tonight, and hopefully pull through some positivity for that group of drivers, and an awesome group to see get involved with us here for this 12th season of eNASCAR Racing on iRacing. Tim, they're doing pretty good. We've seen a lot of teammate duos together, working together, drafting together. The pit stops, I think, shuffled a little bit of them up, but not a lot of them have been able to stay together. That Sadler duo looking pretty good. Not an awful debut night for them, and I would say. We'll say it once more. If you're enjoying the action on track, if you want to be doing this one day in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, the one way to do it is to start your sim racing career today, because every day is race day on iRacing. For more info, log on to iRacing.com. See how you can get your esports sim racing career started.
And you mentioned that number 1 car of Ashton Crowder in the middle of this pack as we see Ryan Luza go one more lap down. Crowder is actually in the free pass spot right now, currently 1 lap down in 36. So if we were to get a yellow flag, he would be in position for that. He's battling the 33 of Taylor Hurst for that position, as you see a couple of drivers drop down and go a lap down. So as I said that, the free pass position may now be a 4-car battle, as we have the 67 of Bose and the 47 of Schoenberg joining them.
And I think in the catbird seat, you're right, is going to be Crowder there in that 1 machine. If he can stick with the 2, or at least close to him. Again, they're not really drafted at the moment, but if he can stay in these lead cars, those guys that get lapped are going to get swallowed up, but they're going to be down by, Alan Bowes and Taylor Hurst and those names right towards the back of this lead pack. And Ashton Crowder is really hoping that he can get a yellow to get that lucky dog free pass and get back to the lead lap. It's a big if, though. We are almost 2/3 of the way through this Daytona 250. I don't think we've had a single lap where the difference between first and second has been more than the car length, maybe aside, from our pit cycle a little bit earlier on in this one. But it has been a season opener with some fireworks. 33 of the 40 cars who started this race are still on the lead lap. Big names, the likes of Zach Novak, the likes of Malik Ray are out of this race early. And you can see Femi Olat trying to control both lanes. He'll go from the bottom to the middle. Justin is really trying to maintain control as those pit stops loom closer.
Yes, indeed. And let's take a listen to some of the audio here as he's right now feeling very comfortable up towards this front.
Is Bobby getting a big push at all? Because I imagine I can come up in front of Graham and then we can start controlling.
Olat, of course, 21 positions gained in this race, and someone that gained a lot of confidence throughout 2020 and the road to try and get his way to here.
The long journey for all these drivers, Tim, just to make it to this point, right? Of the hundreds of thousands of people who like to sim race, and of those who are on the iRacing platform, to get through the ranks, just to get to this point is, I'm sure, a statistical improbability, and it's certainly a journey in and of itself, and it is only to start a new one. And he's doing a great job representing his 18 Toyota team up on the outside right now. I just find it interesting that instead of trying to hold the bottom, which is kind of the riding lane, he's moving up top. He is actively trying to make sure that he occupies both of the spots on each front row, and it can be a little bit dicey at times. I've seen some close moves. I remember a little bit earlier, Michael Conti was a bit dicey coming from that third lane down to the second one, not leaving a ton of space there in the middle. These drivers are going to be less and less inclined to give those breaks as this race gets later and later. That time by, you see 34 laps left to go.
I think that go time mark, or that sense of urgency mark, is that second round of green flag pit stops, and we're coming up on it. The fuel window is about open right now. The door's kind of ajar, but We're going to wait a few laps to see these guys down on pit road. Would anticipate them to come down from 75 to 80. So we're getting closer to that mark.
And we'll step aside with pit stops on the horizon. For the moment, the number 29 of Zach Nichols is in control. You're watching the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series on the iRacing Esports Network.
This Coca-Cola Zero Sugar tastes mighty delicious.
Come on, buddy. If you keep lying like this, you'll be a puppet forever.
It's the honest truth.
You're right. It's delicious.
I never lie.
The season, the story, all of it. I am the one and only place. I am first. But for everyone involved, I am everlasting. Not here to be kind or gentle. Why would I? This is what everyone dreams about. And for one, it all becomes reality. I am the Daytona 500. I am NASCAR.
Coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And by Asus, the official gaming hardware partner of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We're working lap number 71 of 100, and happy that you're with us on the iRacing Esports Network. We ride on board with the number 2 of Garrett Maines. Up top, Tim Terry, Evan Pasoko on the call with you, and Tim getting a little bit dicey as we wait for our second and final trip to pit road. So far, not scare-free, but caution-free in this season opener. Working lap number 71 at the moment. That window now, I think, is wide open. Maybe these drivers opting to save a little bit of fuel for the back end in case overtime is necessary. But so far, everybody in agreement. Now's not the time. On our first cycle of pit stops, everybody pitted within a 2-lap window.
And I would think that window, you mentioned the door being open. I think the window's definitely open too to come down pit road in the next 3, 4, 5 laps or so to see the majority of these cars down there. But you mentioned a couple of scary and a couple of maybe tense moments around here. These guys have got back to 2x2 instead of that, the 3 wide that the outside line started to form and started to get to the front of the field. So I think these guys are starting to position themselves to bring them onto pit road in about 3 or 4 laps and set up what should be the final round of green flag pit stops.
And when I mentioned scares, one of those was a bit of the contact that we saw coming to pit road for the first time. So maybe it will show these drivers 2 and 3 wide off of turn 4, trying to get down to pit road. Not the safest of ideas when you get a lot of traffic to come through. There were some bits of miscommunication that led to some contact, Justin.
Yes, indeed, and that actually has seen a couple drivers thinking of pitting early to try and focus on their pit entry, but a majority of the drivers are within about 5 laps of their fuel window. Some are actually considering as well to not take tires during this pit stop sequence to close things out. Again, pit stops expected with the next 5.
We are waiting for them to dive down pit road, and there's the report, Tim, within 5. These drivers will be down pit road, going to come closer to 3/4 distance in this race than it would, I think, to 2/3 distance, so they are certainly trying to hang on to a little bit extra. It's not all too wide. Look at way up top, 3 wide with Kane Cook in the number 15 Fistful of Bourbon Ford. He's going to tuck in line behind the 55 of Vicente Salas, who's running in about 18th position right now, and a bit more 3 wide lapped traffic up on the outside. Ryan Luza falling an 8th lap down after he has been limping for quite some time with a bit of damage. So it's not to say that everybody is in agreement, because if I'm in this part of the pack right now, look at Leahy going to the very outside, thinking about some 3 wide as well there, Tim. If I'm in this mid pack here, I don't know if I want to be 15th in 10 laps. 15th is probably fine right now, right? 26 laps to go. When we get out of pit stops, I'm looking to be top 12. Get into the top 10 at some point. All of these other drivers are going to set their sights up, and that is going to be, I think, when these drivers have to decide, is it going to be elbows up, or are they going to stay as passive as long as they can? Michael Conti said over the radio he was coming down pit road this time. He has been joined by a chorus of drivers. Your top 5 are single file. Who comes in at lap 75?
Hand out the window from the 29 that last time by the stripe, so I think the 29 of Nichols is going to lead us down into pit road, and indeed he will. And here comes half of this field. Who makes the mistake? Who is able to get onto pit road? 2 and 3 wide, and a little bit of pushing and shoving, but for the most part, I think everybody's down here clean.
Pit road speed was 60 miles an hour, Tim. Your race leader, Zach Nichols, may have sped. He was one of the drivers who locked up the tires. That was awfully close. I clocked him at about 72 at the cone. Pit road speed is 60. Granted, there is a little bit of leeway if he can slow that car down in time. Drivers down pit road are going to go for fuel and for tires. But it appears that Nichols on pit road, Tim, I'm just looking at it. I think he does have a penalty. Look at everybody else leaving pit road. Zach Nichols is still in the box. I think your leader had a penalty. Here comes the rest of them now. Davies in his Axe Chevrolet will lead them down, locking up the tires, but I think that group got it done.
Some beautiful moves onto pit road, and you see the leaders on the racetrack. That is the 32 of Keegan Leahy, familiar place from last year up in front, and then the 9, the big green egg, number 9, Michael Guest having a great run here as these 6 or 7 position themselves down the back and get ready to potentially enter pit road this time.
They are the lone ones, still waiting for them to dive down pit road. I said that last time everybody did it in 2. This may come in 3. There's that second group of cars speeding off of pit road. I don't think anybody had any major issues. Now here come your third group, Leahy, and look at the drive to the outside. Hello, Logan Clampett, who locks up the brakes. You got Guest, Lyon, Cook, Matheson down pit road. That's a half a dozen in for service.
We got one around in the middle of this pack here in the grass. We stay green for the time being, but we had one driver with an off through the grass coming off of pit road. I didn't catch the number on that one, Evan. And that is Alan Bowes in the 67, former winner here at Daytona. That's a tough break.
Tough break, especially for how good he was running all night long, and he was 2 wide on the access road, Tim. He wasn't the only one that had issues. Mitchell DeYoung bumped Dylan Duval on the access road at about 100 and something miles an hour, so they were pretty aggressive trying to get track position and speed, plenty to back up and onto the surface. Hearing a lot of 2-tire calls in the strategy. Keegan Leahy has been overtaken down on the bottom of the racetrack, and 29 to be seen of Zach Nichols, maybe the driver cycling all the way back to the top if he can help it. Or is he going to be stuck on the 1 lap down spot? We'll have to wait to see where the scoring positions cycle through this time. But already a lot of drivers up to speed. Keegan Leahy getting swallowed up by this pack in turn 4.
And Derek Justice speeding on pit road. Tough break for that number 37 who was running up front. We mentioned Zach Nichols might have been a little hot on pit road. Derek Justice definitely hot on pit road. Maybe a couple of rookie mistakes out of these drivers. But now, Evan, those green flag pit stops, they've cycled through. And now, what do you have left to get to the front? There's Michael Guest, the fistful of bourbon, big green egg, number 9. And he's got a pack coming up behind him. He took 2 tires on his stop.
It was good for track position, but it's not going to be good for speed. So Nichols, who led down pit road, Tim, courtesy of the penalty, is a lap down, and it's going to be short-lived for the 9 car. Put on the brakes. The inside going to check up hard. A big bobble by Corey Vincent, but they hang on to it, and the cars on the outside, the big winners, because they get around Michael Guest without trouble. And now to the race lead goes the 97 to Clampett with his William Byron Esports teammate of Nick Ottinger. They are sitting first and second with 21 to go.
You ride on board with Michael Guest in the number 9, and we mentioned teammates up there. How about the Jim Beaver Esports teammates up in front? Kane Cook has joined Michael Guest up there, and they are in the top 10 and poised to make a run when they come back by this time. 20 laps to go in this thing, and it's now time to go. We talked about that window opening, that switch flipping. You now got to position yourself for a shot at winning at Daytona and lock yourself into the playoffs.
It is absolutely go time. To the very outside, Kane Cook going to be working with the 18 of Femiola. There's a late slide up top. Graham Bolin wants to work with them as well. It is gloves off. We are fighting for not only a race win, but for the first time in the 12-year history of this series, a guaranteed spot in the playoffs. The driver who wins this season opening Daytona 250. Conti leads the bottom. The 97 to Clampett leads the middle, and it's the 10 car of Bolin on the outside.
Bolin has been at the front, led laps, and now he's trying to take that outside line with maybe a little help from Ottinger. Oh boy, that car got a little light in the back end. He may have had a little shove from that number 10 of Graham Bolin. 3 wide for the lead. Michael Conti to that inside, and now the William Byron Esports teammate's going to be side by side as they climb the bank and one.
And here's your onboard cameras. Left-hand side of your screen with the teammates on the front row. Clampett and Ottinger. I wonder, Tim, if that move by the 25 of Ottinger to the outside was by design, right? It's good having cars bumper to bumper, yes, but I wonder if having cars controlling 2 of the 3 lanes is even better. And of course, they have a technical alliance with that 8 machine, a Michael Conti down on the very inside line. So they're cruising right now in control of all 3 lanes. Going to be awfully difficult for somebody like the 2 of Mains, like the 9 machine of Michael Guest, to get around a trio that is seemingly working together.
So if you're sitting in the car of the 9 of Michael Guest or the 2 of Garrett Mains, you're trying to get by these 3 up in front, albeit that outside line is starting to fall back a little bit with Nick Ottinger. Might open the door for Garrett Mains to go high if he can get clear, but Evan, if that happens there's the 2 roommates on your screen. Logan Clampett, Michael Conti, racing from the same room and racing 1-2 right now. It's always good to get by with a little help from your friends, but if you're running all 3 lanes, does that force the 2 and the 9 to maybe get a little aggressive and maybe let the rough side drag and potentially force a mistake?
I think you have to, right? At some point, they're going to get desperate real quick, and you mentioned maybe that outside of his opening. That's your concern. If these 3 can stay side by side by side, they're good. Unless someone's going to try to force a 4th lane, they can't go underneath you through the double yellow line as you take it on board. Look there with Clampett, looking out the left-hand side, the driver's windows net over to Conti. If you don't give them an opening, they can't really do anything when you're occupying all 3 lanes. So you just need to hope that somebody doesn't either get too far out ahead or too far behind. So at some point, it could be the Donna Guest. It could be the 2 of Mains. It could be the 10 on the outside of Bolin. At some point, someone's going to say, listen, I'm not going to sit around here and push you all to the win. Someone's going to push hard, try to get somebody out in front, and then try to create an opening. You're looking off of the back of Derek Justice. He will get down to the apron to get out of the way as he falls a 2nd lap down and leaves that space up top for your race leaders, who are 3 wide, 6 rows deep.
The thing that kind of concerns me is that outside groove, Evan. The 25 of Nick Ottinger has fallen back a little bit. A couple of laps as you start to see a little bit of that sense of urgency in the middle of this pack. But if the 25 of Ottinger continues to fall back, if he falls back deep enough, it might allow the 2 to hop up to the outside and make the move. And then it's kind of game time to try to figure out if you're Ottinger, do you push him? So there's plenty of different strategies, different agendas that could very well play out in this thing. We'll find out in 15 laps who ends up in victory lane, but Michael Conti to the inside. I know he didn't get the clash finish that he wanted to, but right now he's up in front. And how about Matt Busick? Great to see him in the Mode Motorsports number 75, and you see him in the draft. He's up there with Brad Davies. He's well a part of this picture, and he could very well win this thing tonight.
Yeah, haven't talked much about him tonight. Started in the 31st position inside of the top 20 now, but he is behind all of the 3 wide. You can see he and Brad Davies there just in front of him in the 88 Chevy. They're both kind of taking stock of the situation, thinking, how on earth am I going to find a way through this? But Tim, the outside continues, I think, to be that weak point. It is the most difficult lane to be consistently up-fronted. We talked with Zach Novak earlier. He was letting us how he was involved in an incident and said, listen, I was probably pinching a little bit, but you're kind of hoping and assuming that the guys at the bottom are going to hold the line. Well, that outside has been side by side with Clampett, with Conti. They've also at times been almost a car length behind. And that could be the chink of the armor. If they fall far enough behind for a Garrett Maines to get in front of the 25, then that control of the front rows are gone, right? The 2 could slide down for the race lead, and it could go crazy from there. But somebody going to have to make that move. You could also think, let's say these drivers stay in control to the last lap of this race. At some point, roommates, teammates, doesn't matter. You all can't get a ticket to the playoffs here tonight. Only one driver can. So at some point, even those alliances will become fractured and frayed. I don't think it's yet, though, with 13 to go.
You look out the passenger side window of Michael Guest as they work through the high banks and 1 and 2 and down the straightaway. He's right behind Michael Conti. You see it right there as he pushes that number 8, that outside line, 2 up from that number 9 of Michael Guest, the 25 of Ottinger. We talked about those 3 up front, those friends being the control cars, Evan. That 2 is kind of the wild card, but we'll see who comes up and tries to help that outside line, because it's been 4 and it's been 4 for a while. I think they've got a friend in Matt Busa, though, trying to give a little help to that outside. And it almost looks like Keegan Leahy these last couple laps, about 6th on that middle groove, has been kind of flashing the nose and thinking about, hey, I want to go to the outside, but he hasn't pulled the trigger yet. He's got room if he wants to go up.
And would they dare put a 4th line in? We've seen it happen at Talladega. We've seen it for moments here at Daytona, but this racetrack really chokes up when you get into the corners. I don't know if that is a viable option. Doesn't mean that someone's not going to try it. Viable has never been a prerequisite for somebody making a late race move for a race win at Daytona. And there's the onboard look with Bolin. You can see keeps looking to the inside, trying to take stock of who am I next to, who's got the run, who doesn't, how close am I to their door. Can I get a little bit more side draft? The driver at Houston, Texas for Stewart Haas Esports. Maybe that team's best opportunity up here behind the number 25 of Ottinger. But it is still Conti, Clampett, Ottinger, bottom, middle, top, in control of this race. Next time by, coming to 10 laps to go.
I think it's who makes the move and who potentially could make the mistake to try to shake this pack up. We're starting to see those teammates form up. How about the Williams Esports teammates on the inside? We mentioned that 29 had that issue on pit road, but the 52 of Jake Matheson is up there. He was really excited last week after he finished in the top 3 in the Clash. Imagine how excited he would be if he picks up the win here in his rookie season, his first points race in this series. And you ride on board with Jake Matheson, the driver from New Hampshire. He's raced legend cars. He races pro late models in the Granite State Pro Stock Series, and now he's looking to try to pick up one of the biggest wins of his career, and he could potentially only be 10 laps away from it.
And he's got his teammate right with him, right, for the number 29 machine, just a little bit up the road. Could those drivers work together? Could be a great debut. Those Williams Esports cars have had a lot of success in their tenure here in eNASCAR. One final time to remind you, if you are enjoying this on track, you can be a part of it, because with iRacing, every day is race day. For more information on how to start your iRacing career, go to iRacing.com today for more information. Just looking, Tim, and we talked about some of those drivers outside of the top 15, right? In this case, somebody like a Jake Nichols, somebody like a 21 of Garrett Lowe, who aren't in the 3 wide. I mean, can they do anything? I know I mentioned after pit stops, I want to be top 10, or your spots are going to be limited. If you're not in this 3 wide, there's just no way to go around all of them. If those drivers start pushing and getting desperate, it could start a kind of accordion effect to push everybody up into the car in front of them, and it could get real ugly. How bad do you want it? If you see a car length of a gap, do you go for it? At this point, I know we talked about give or take a little bit earlier. There is no giving anymore. These drivers get to fight scrap for every inch. That time by the advantage to the middle of the racetrack by 2 1/1000ths of a second for Logan Clampett.
You've got the cards now. You have to see what you've been dealt and put them all on the table. Go all in and see what you have. Look at that 2-car. Get that run on Nick Ottinger in the 25, the 2 of Garrett Maines, trying to get that run just enough to pull up ahead of Ottinger, but can't seem to get clear as they work by Schoenberg on the inside line. Tough break for the veteran of this series, but the 8 of Michael Conti trying to get that Daytona win here in 2021 to kick off the season, but it's starting to get tight up in front, and Conti drove all the way from the back of the field, started 38. Michael Guest up here as well. He started in 34, so there's some drivers here that have moved tonight.
Yeah, there's 4 drivers in the top 10 right now. Actually, 5 drivers, Tim, in the top 10 right now that started outside of the top 30. There was only 1 driver who started top 10 in this race. That's there now. And that's Logan Clampett, who started in 9th position and runs in 2nd. It has been the race of the comers and the goers. Most of those big passes have come, though, based on executing pit strategy, getting down to pit road A cleanly, and B, getting off of pit road with other cars to build the draft pack quickly. That has been the key that has allowed a lot of these groups of cars to make moves here in this race. This time by 6 laps to go from Daytona. Thought maybe there was a peek to the outside by Maines. It doesn't happen. Don't forget, he's got a bit of right side damage on the back end of that car. That could hurt him. Corey Vincent into the mix. His Coke Zero Chevy, 4th in line in the middle with a little bit of damage. Doesn't appear to be hurting these cars that much, though. Conti still on the bottom. This is an incredibly tight pack all the way back to Matt Busa. Your top 16 cars separated by less than half a second.
And Evan, the magic number is 23. There are 23 drivers in this lead pack that are on the lead lap. Couple of drivers about single file in behind. You kind of caught them off the end of that picture there, but if something does happen up in this pack, they could stand to gain a ton of positions, and there's some names back there that could very well end up stealing this thing if something happens, because time is quickly running out. 5 laps to go at Daytona. Michael Conti, Logan Clampett, Nick Ottinger controlling this field up in front. Who else makes the move?
What is that golden ticket to the playoffs worth to you? If I'm that 2nd or 3rd car in any of these lines, am I happy with top 10 points in the season opener? That's going to make my life really easy to start off this season. I'm not working from behind. I've got points in the bank. One other thing to note, Tim, not only does that winning your income to the bank, but we have expanded the playoffs to 10 drivers for 2021, which means in all likelihood, there may be some drivers who qualify in not based on wins, but on points. It is not wins and, disregard points entirely. That is still a major component of making the playoffs and fighting for $100,000 plus at a championship here in 2021. Are you willing to risk a 3rd, a 4th, or a 5th in exchange for that golden ticket and a guaranteed spot to fight in the championship? Still in a stalemate on the front row. Next time by, coming to 3 laps to go. Will it be shades of 2020?
We'll watch these guys come through the tri-oval in that middle groove. Logan Clampett trying to take that lead with Michael Conti, and Nick Ottinger is doing what he has to do on that outside line and positioning himself with a shot to win this race. This is where it gets intense. This is where we start to see those pushing, the shoving going on, and trying to put yourself in a spot to win, lock yourself into the playoffs, and not have to worry about points. I don't want to worry about points in the most competitive oval series on iRacing. We work down the back straightaway, 2.5 laps left to go, and look at that run from the outside line.
They come, they go, they come and they go. It is still Michael Conti on the bottom, the 97 of Logan Clampett in the middle, and your defending series champion, the 25 of Nick Ottinger, to the very outside. 98 laps down. It's 2 laps to go from Daytona.
white flag presented by iRacing. It'll go down in the scorecards as a caution-free season opener. But do they all make it to the end of this race? The advantage was slightly to Conti on the inside.
These friends up in front control this race. You see the roommates on your screen, Clampett and Conti. They've got Ottinger to the outside, pushing and shoving in the middle of the pack. What does Garrett Maines do? They head into 3.
Sparks fly in 3 as the 10 Division of Bolin got a little bit of the fence. They're going to pack in. Oh, and there's contact. Clampett's into the outside wall. A huge one in turn number 4. And on his own, Michael Conti wins the season opener at Daytona for career win 11.
Evan, we saw the emotions from both of those drivers coming off at turn 4. Conti is happy, pumping the fist. Logan, another gesture that wasn't very happy. Let's put it that way. After running up front for so long, and that happens on the last lap. But Michael Conti, former series champion, and now he's got to breathe a little bit. He's locked into the playoffs.
He will fight for a championship, trying to become just the second driver to be a multi-time champion. Remember, Ray Alfala is the only driver to ever do it, winning in 2011, 12, 16, and 18. Conti, your 2014 series champion, would like to add his name to that list, Tim. He has been oh so close for the last several seasons, and in 2021, he'll have another real good look because a win locks him in to the postseason. He'll bring it around in one piece to get the celebration underway. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. A celebration for one of the winningest drivers in series history. 4th on the all-time wins list. It is his 11th career win in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, and he is the first Tim to break into victory lane in 2021. How about that? Another season opener that goes caution-free on paper. Calamity at the end. Those teammates, technical partners, roommates, however you want to identify them, those drivers worked it beautifully to the end, but I did say that alliance would only go so long, and we saw it come to the end at a turn 4. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola winning moment.
And the move of the race here, Evan, is going down into corner number 3. They looked good right here, and then the bomb kind of goes off, and watch Logan Clampett go around, little contact from the 9, and then everything ensues behind the 8 of Michael Conti, and Conti able to get scot-free home, and he takes the victory.
You can only imagine some of the drivers who were so close to a win that don't even get a good result at the end of this one. We asked, is it worth gambling away top 5 worth of points to go for the win? I think the resounding answer to that question was yes. They went for it. We'll see how they feel maybe in a week's time when they reassess. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola full race results. The final margin of victory, 0.4 seconds in favor of Michael Conti over Michael Guest, who comes home in second. How about debut performances for Jake Matheson and Isaac Gahn inside of the top 5? Bobby Zelensky, Casey Kerwin, along with Vicente Salas. You got Chris Shearburn and Brad Davies. 2 Junior Motorsports entries bookend the top 10.
Your pole sitter from tonight, Mitchell DeYoung, going to finish in 11th. Femi Olot in 12th. Garrett Maines, Graham Bolin, both ran up front. Jake Nichols in 16th or 15th place. Matt Busa, Keegan Leahy, Kane Cook, Garrett Lowe, and Logan Clampett from the front row, contending for the win. 20th at the end.
What a fall in the final couple hundred of feet behind him. Nick Ottinger, Ray Alfala, and John Gorlinski with Bob Bryant and Steven Wilson. Nathan Lyon, Jimmy Mullis, Blade Witt, Ryan Doucette, and Blake Reynolds finish this one in the top 30.
And completing out your field, drivers that did not have the luck they wanted to here this evening. Dylan Duval, last driver, scored on the lead lap in 31st. Zach Nichols, 1 lap down with that pit penalty. Ashton Crowder, Taylor Hurst, Alan Bowes, all 1 lap down. The JTG teammates Derek Justice and Brian Schoenberg. Back in the field, Ryan Luza, Malik Ray, and former series champion Zach Novak, P40.
A lot of drivers going to get their 2021 season kicked off the way they were hoping. There's an equal amount of drivers, Tim, who now find themselves on the back foot. They got 2 less races this season in the regular season to make up for it than they did 2020. So going to be interesting to see how this series carries on into the next round at Homestead in a couple of weeks' time. But Michael Conti, your race winner in the season opening Daytona 250. Let's talk with the driver of the number 8 machine now. Michael, congratulations on the race win. And I know that anytime you can get a win in this series, it's got to mean so much to you, even more so to kick off a championship with a race win. But tonight, with that added bonus of a nice little golden ticket, because you'll continue your quest for a second career championship, guaranteeing yourself a playoff spot. But what a race.
Yeah, absolutely, Evan. I'm sure everybody saw it after the race, but I'm over the moon with that one. Anybody that knows me can tell you that plate tracks are not my specialty. I admittedly don't know what I'm doing half of the time, but going to the race tonight with everything that Dale and Junior Motorsports, Chad Wheeler, everything that everybody has put behind me in this off season as far as equipment and support, I knew I had to step up my game. And in years past, I played it safe. I stayed in the back, and then we'd get to the end and it'd be 3x3 and I couldn't go anywhere. So tonight we almost did the same thing, qualified poorly, got a bad gust of wind, started in the back and was going to play it safe. And then about 15 laps in, I told Adam, my crew chief, I said, we're going to go for it. And if we wreck, we wreck. But there's too much of an upside potential to just sit here and not try to get the victory. Some things went our way. We had some lucky breaks. Pit cycles were good. And a hell of a push by Michael Guest there at the end. I can't thank him enough. Without him, definitely would not have been able to pull that off. So super excited to get the victory. Really excited to not have to worry about winning or pointing my way in for the next several months here. We can start to go on a different tangent with setups and going out on a limb a little bit more. So it's going to be a lot of fun for us, but super happy to get this 8 car in victory lane and really excited to get on to Homestead now.
Aside from maybe letting you breathe a little bit better on a week-by-week basis, you mentioned for a couple of months, we're not going to go playoff racing till the end of August. So I know it has to feel really good. How does this change? You know, you're talking about different setups and whatnot. How is this going to change maybe your approach, maybe the team as well, working with Brad and his team to try to get them to join you in the playoffs? How big of a difference is this for you for the next 13 rounds, unlike last year where you could have started it off with a race win and it wouldn't have made as much of a difference? I mean, what does this do to your season? Totally, I think, changing the mindset.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely does. And even more so this year than in years past. I'm not on totally different equipment right now, but probably by the next race, everything is going to look different with my setup. Brand new rig, ditching the old reliable G27 finally after 10 years of running on it for one of the VRS direct drive wheels. So that, a new shifter, a totally different setup. So, to be completely honest with you, I was pretty worried switching over equipment mid-season. It just didn't work out to where we could do it during the off season. So I was really worried that it would affect performance and it would hurt maybe short term to gain long term, if you will. But now with the win out of the way, obviously we can really try some different things with equipment and settings and just getting me comfortable on this stuff. So when we get to the playoffs, I've worked the bugs out of everything and I know where I stand with the equipment I have in front of me. So it's going to be a big change after running the same stuff for almost a decade now. To go to completely different equipment is scary, but obviously getting the win here tonight makes it a little bit less challenging.
Coming into this race, there weren't many things that you could not say you have done. You can now call yourself a Daytona winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Mike, thanks for chatting and congratulations.
Hey, thanks, Evan. Appreciate you guys doing what we do every week.
Race winner in this Daytona 250, Tim. And right there in that mixed slate was Michael Guest, who comes home in second. You're standing by with a driver of the 9 car.
Yeah, great to see Michael Guest in those brand new colors come home in position number 2. And we'll chat with the driver, the big green egg number 9. And Michael, you ran 4th for most of the last 20 laps or so. How relieved are you to come home in one piece in position number 2?
You know what? It feels great because the last season and a half or so has been filled with so many wrecks that I've been involved in on the last lap that it sucked that whatever happened on the last lap happened, but I'm so happy that I wasn't involved in it. because I was looking there and I was counting down the laps and I didn't have too much fuel, so I was really hoping we didn't get a caution. And when we took the white and I took a big sigh of relief, and then that happened, so very satisfied.
You mentioned a little bit of the struggle here the last year and a half or so, but you're on a new team, Jim Beaver Esports, big green egg on the side of this race car. How happy are you for this breath of fresh air, and especially to kick it off with the momentum at Daytona?
Oh yeah, of course. Like I said, the last year and a half or so have just been filled with wrecks that I feel like I really shouldn't have been a part of. And to get this season started off on the right foot is just amazing. I feel like I played the strategy as perfect as you could at Daytona, and everything just worked out.
Well, congratulations on this run this evening. The big green egg number 9, Michael Guest, comes home in position number 2, and we'll slide over and chat with our third place finisher, a driver who was on the podium last week as well in the clash. Jake Matheson comes from the back 36th place to finish in position number 3 here this evening. And Jake, how much of a relief is it for you to come home with a top 3 in this points race?
You know, it's really awesome. I mean, we were in the same position at the clash last week, and felt like we had I felt like we had a decent piece. We kind of had a bad qualifying attempt, but we had a really good piece for the race, and it definitely showed getting up through the pack later in the race. And once we were out front, I knew I was stuck there because Daytona gridlock, but I was stuck there, and was just hoping that someone would someone would do something to cause that, or just shuffle out a line, something like that, to possibly gain more spots. But really happy we were able to avoid it and bring on a P3.
You've been involved in some big races and legend cars and pro stocks, and now you ride around on the last lap trying to get a win at Daytona, biggest race for this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. How were your nerves the last couple laps?
I think from the time I got out of pit road to the checkered flag, they were spiked up. They were maxed out. Once you get the final pit stop, it's just time to go, and everyone's on go. Everyone's on kill at that point. So, and intensity definitely ramps up. I'm sure the stream definitely showed it. A lot of intensity that last fuel run, or that last run of the finish. I don't really know. Honestly, I'm kind of speechless. I'll be just getting through the pack and being able to avoid that mess at the end is honestly mind-boggling. Really hope this is I know for a fact this is going to be one of many top 3s or podiums. We're gonna have a good time this season.
And the highest finishing rookie this race as well. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Jake Matheson, position number 3. Once again, I think, Evan, he is going to be one to watch as we go through this season. 2021 kicks off once again with a caution-free race at Daytona.
And we go to some more familiar territory in 2 weeks' time for the second race of the year, Tim. On February 23rd at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, start from the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway, and we go right into things. Homestead, Vegas, Atlanta. If you're an intermediate fan, now is your time to shine. We're officially racing in 2021, and it's only going to get better from here.
I love Homestead. We've seen some really great races, some great finishes. It's been the championship finale for so many years, and it's provided some really great racing, some 2-wide and some grooves that you might not see on some other racetracks. It's a really great facility. I cannot wait to get there in 2 weeks' time.
First time championship's not going to be decided there this time around in 2021. But until then, that's it for us here tonight from Daytona. The season opener is in the books. On behalf of our entire team, iRacing, for Drew Adamson, Cisco Scarabuza, Michael Watson, Joe McManus, Tim Burns, Jay Kennedy, Alex Hoard, Nicolette Goslin, Malik Streeter, along with James Pike, Chris Overland, Brandon Cattell, Michael Gariglia, for Justin Prince, Tim Terry, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Michael Conti, your season opener winner from the World Center of Racing. We're back in 2 weeks' time. We will catch you on February the 23rd from Homestead. That race and every race of the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found right here on the iRacing Esports Network.